Welcome, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here with you on a Monday evening. And it feels really great to be here with Dermot again. And welcome to an unusual, essential conversation here at Wellbeings. And we're going to be discussing a retreat program that we're going to be running in November this year, starting on the 9th. And I suppose before we start talking about it, I want to share a little bit about where it came from me anyway. And I've known this scallywag or this wise man, whatever, and anything in between.
Scallywag.
for so many years, and on the Wellbeings platform, we met again and deepened our relationship in a way where I was really inspired and impacted in the heart by the work that Dermot's been doing and the work that he does in the world, helping people find their way back to themselves again. And through this sort of, I suppose, this sort of cross-pollination, in a way, we decided to come together, and we thought this was really unusual, just two ordinary men coming together. To hold space for other ordinary people who struggle, And I think just from a foundational perspective, we had this real sort of, just this alignment in the heart that we saw there was such a need in the world for men, ordinary men, to walk with others, to help people find their way back to themselves again, to get to understand themselves again, and to be able to better deal with the world, to help them deal better with the world, with all its ups and downs and struggles that we're living through. So it was through this sort of wonderful conversations that have give birth to the Reset program. So Dermot, thank you for being here. I'm in Bali and Dermot's in Portugal. Thanks for joining us here.
Thank you, Nigel. Great to talk to you again. It's great to be here to talk to all of your viewers, all your listeners, and to talk to them about the Reset Retreat, and to talk to them about, I suppose, where we really come from on this. I was before this today, what I love about work with you, Nigel, is, and I'll share this with the viewers, right, that our plan is really no plan. We said, okay, what are we going to talk to about today? And we said, we're not going to make any plan. We're just going to go online and we're just going to just roll with it. And this is how you work with your clients. And this is exactly how I work with my clients and with my students. I will never know what I'm going to be teaching until I'm there in the moment, in the group, when we're doing it. And then it's our intuition, our inner teacher, that comes through having absolute trust in the process, in the moment. And then the flow happens, and then we can respond in the absolute moment. So that's what I love about you. And it brings a bit of excitement up as well, because we have no plan, and you have to actually really, really trust in the moment. But earlier today, as I was ironing my shirt, right? I was ironing the shirt, and it came to my mind about suffering. And suffering is such a big topic. It's such a big part of all of our lives, right? And all of us suffer. Everyone suffers, and sometimes we suffer really, really bad, and it's really difficult. And the question is, how do you suffer? How can you help somebody with the suffering? What are the tools you can use to actually navigate through that suffering, and how can you face that suffering? And if we can make the suffering, no matter what it is inside of us, mentally and physically, and we can have really bad pains in our body, if we can actually make it come to a stage where it's no longer a mental suffering, but a physical suffering, the suffering can halve. If we stop resisting and fighting life, fighting the situation, if we can actually surrender into the situation, into the reality, the suffering can actually halve in that moment. And then we stop resisting the suffering, and we can work our way through it. So much easier. So that came up today for me, because I see showing people the tools to how to actually navigate through suffering is a pathway to more happiness, more peace, more joy, and more love in the life. And on the Reset Retreat, that's what we're going to be doing. That's going to be a big part of what we're going to be doing. You're 25 years in this game, Nigel. I'm 25, 6 years in this game, okay? And we both of us dived in the deep end, right? A long time ago, doing all sorts of wild stuff on the development path. And I like to boil this right down. And for me, it's really, I think, about being okay in the present moment, being okay with the emotional body, with the pains, being okay with the suffering, being present in that, and to actually learn and practice giving love to ourselves first and allow that resistance fall. So that's just one aspect that we'll be doing. It's very simple, but it's something we can do all of our lives. So that's what came into my mind as I was ironing my shirt.
Yeah. The suffering of ironing shirts these days, you know.
Yeah.
I used to nowadays I just keep it wrinkled and it dries out on the motorbike on the way to work.
Yeah. Way better.
But you're right, Dermot. It's really about, well, first of all, I suppose what we're saying is, you know, what this reset program is all about. And we're talking about suffering, and Dermot's talking about a particular type of people are aware of that they're suffering, and a bigger majority of people are unaware that they're suffering. They work really, really hard to get away from their suffering, creating other types of suffering. You know, and when we're young, we make early decisions that we decide to be superheroes, or we decide to be helpers, fixers, rescuers. And we learn this culturally, and we also learn it in our family systems to distract us, to compensate for the inner sufferings.
Yeah.
So yes, this program is about being able to help us get in touch with the helplessness, the hopelessness, the loneliness, the sort of grief that's held, that we work really hard to hide, but shows up. Just ask your loved ones, ask the people closest to you. You know, noticing how we're so busy that we forget the things that sometimes are important. Noticing the ways we need to medicate. Notice why we're chasing our tail. There's never enough time in the day, where we're trying to chase approval and recognition, and I forgot what intimacy is all about. Like that connectivity with another being, that connectivity with ourselves. So in a way, this whole program is designed in a way to help us come back home. Really coming back home to get to know who we are through the context of relationships. Get to know our patterns or our triggers. Through the group work, we're going to have lots of, you're going to grow and develop interpersonally through that experience. You're going to learn to, Dermot was talking about presence a moment ago. There's going to be a huge amount of being able to know acceptance is a huge thing in the world. If we can start to accept our imperfections, where we can accept that there's suffering, where we can accept that we're imperfect. I can't remember the poem, but today I wrote it. In my groups, I always start a lot of my group therapy with a poem, and today's, the first line of the poem was, "You don't need to be good anymore."
Yeah.
So many ways we've got all these ideas and adaptations of who we're supposed to be, ideals that we have to live up to that keep us away from who we are and keep us away from the suffering. The suffering that helps to set us free. The grief that helps us come alive. So through the program, it's really about creating the safety, Dermot. When you say safety is a huge important factor, that when we're safe, then we can slowly start to trust. And then as we start to trust the space, each other, ourselves, then we lean into a very, very powerful commodity called vulnerability.
Yeah.
And then, then it takes its own takes its own course over time.
That's a real surrendering, Nigel. Do you see? That's a real surrendering. When you're safe, you trust. When you really trust, you can let go. And when you let go, we begin to, I rather know what we are, we begin to see what we are not. And we are not the critic in the mind. We're not the sabotage in the mind. We're not the judge in the mind. You know, with all these things going on, we go, I'm not that. I'm not that. You know? And you smile at it. Smile at it. Okay? These things come up in our minds that sabotage us. Smile at it and go, I'm not that. Don't fight it. Never fight it. Smile at it. Yeah? And you smile at the judge. You're judging yourself. Just, I'm not that. That's a voice. Smile at it, right? And they weaken. The voices weaken in our minds. The critics of our mind weaken when we actually feel. We smile from the feeling inside. You're feeling, and then you smile. It loses its power over you because they take us off our track. They take us off our path.
Yeah, I love that, Dermot. I love how you put that in. You know what? And I love how Dermot has his sort of he has his words for it, and I have my words for it. But I really hear him saying how he calls the thoughts into question, how he calls himself into question with the smile, how he, you know, and it's a huge part of living a fulfilled life.
Yeah,
we can start to do that, where we can think about our thinking, where we can start to call that critical parental voice of saying you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that, and look at that, you did it wrong again, and you're a failure, and you have to work harder, and where we can call that into question.
Smile.
Or that part, or that other, yeah, by smiling, or that part that feels that you're victimized, that the world's out to get you all the time.
Yeah.
Where you collapse, where we can call that into question as well. Where we can have the supportive environment where we can start to look at where these patterns come from, where these, in the here and now, where we create our suffering, you know, and again, where we can call it into question, whether it's with a smile or whether we can have an inquiry to start to understand, you know, how familiar this is, so we can start to grow awareness, Dermot, to these different parts of ourselves. And that awareness then helps to be cultivated over time, and not just, you know, it changes everything. So this whole space over a 7-day period is really about, you know, helping to create the safety, to build the trust, to promote the vulnerability, to grow the awareness.
This is the magic. I want to stop you at that one, right? Over my 16 or 17 years of doing retreats and silent retreats, and that's the key. That is the juice. That's the magic. Is that those few moments, and we're talking about seconds here. We're talking about seconds. Whether you're smiling at the critic, whether you're in therapy and it's been shown to you and you see it and you become aware for a few seconds. That's where the transformation, that's the magic juice that makes the transformation happen in that moment. It's the awareness of the thought, the voice, the pain in the body, the yuckiness in the body, that's a horrific feeling of just a horrible feeling within the body, emotional repression coming through. And it's a few seconds, and all we need is 5 seconds. 5 seconds. Keep it for 2 seconds. And then you said, then it grows. Then this purity develops. The purity develops, purity develops, purity develops, and we can develop that within ourselves. So that's stronger. So then when the curveballs come and things come in our life, we have more of this innate subconscious awareness. It's a phenomenon of its own. It's very hard to kind of pin it down, right? But it's there. And it's watching, and it's almost aware of itself, and it spots it, and you call it out. Like you call out these things, where they're going on, I see it. And once you call it out, it weakens. It stops us rolling in this dream state of a story.
Let let me deepen on that a little bit more, Jim. I love this awareness in the dream state. And so let's talk about the three different types of awareness that we have. And I would call these three different doorways that we are observing in our clients. Sometimes one doorway will be the thinking mind. Some of us will be able to meet them on the thinking mind more. Other people might be able to meet them on the behavioral mind, where we can have a shift in behavior. I'll explain that in a moment.
Yeah.
Another doorway for some people, which was always a huge one for me, which was the emotional landscape.
Yeah.
So let me give you an example of how I was able to grow awareness by having a new lived experience whenever I was in one of my first groups back about, well, must be 20 odd years ago. And I was in a group full of men, and one man said something in the group, and all beknownst to me, I started to feel a lot, and I got in touch with some really, really, really deep grief, and I didn't really know what was happening because it came out of the blue, because I felt safe, and I felt safe in a way where it took me off my feet and onto the ground, and I was wailing, I was deeply wailing. And the new lived experience for me was to look around. With this awareness grew through the behavior, that the men were still there, that they were reaching out, that they were tender, that they were kind, that they were present, that they had my, like, I could feel how their attention was with me. They were giving me the space to feel. They weren't telling me to stop, and they weren't running away. So that sort of incubated in me, and that's what I would call a new lived experience that changed my life forever. To know that was possible, that level of vulnerability on my behalf was possible, because I felt safe to do it with others, because they shared their stories. And in the reset retreat, people will be sharing their stories, and they will be sharing, and through that, people start to feel safe, and then one person in the space can go to a place that you haven't been able to go yet, but that then gives you permission to go there as well. And then you have this new lived experience that grows this new awareness, and you grow a new synapse in your brain that you never had before. A new neural pathway opens up, and you have a new possibility. So that's how we create change in these programs a lot of the time, by helping. That was a behavioral shift, and it was also an emotional shift. And it really challenged my thinking as well, because I had a belief that wasn't possible. So I called my thoughts into question. So my thoughts changed. My behavior in the world with men changed, and women, because it really helped me at that time when I'd been vulnerable with men. I was able to bring that vulnerability back to the women in my life. And then it changed my behavior. I was able to be a whole. It took many times to repeat this over the years that followed, but it really shifted how I was, and my awareness never faltered. Like, that grew in that moment. And this is one of the main things that this program is all about: is about a safe space for new beginnings.
Yeah, for new beginners, Nigel, and I would also say for people that are already working on, like, say, being aware and working on themselves for quite a long time, because when the intention is there with the work that you're doing and with the work that I'm doing, if you're feeling a natural pull to actually come to do this program, it means it's ready for you. It means it's ready for you. It means it's a deeper part of your intuition is saying, go on that, That means you're ready. You're ready to process. And what you find is, when you make a decision to go, resistance is going to happen, obstacles are going to come in your way, things are going to try to stop you from coming, because you're ready to work through that. And this isn't like you can still go very deep over 7 days, with the work that both of us are doing. You're going to doing the group therapy, counseling work, really with that support and really kind of putting it up to people and facing what people are hiding away from. And what I'll be doing is helping people get back into their own bodies. Help them come from here back down into the body, feeling the body, connecting into the body, becoming aware of the body, becoming aware of the emotions. And the two of these together really supports the transformation. Because when we can feel, as we're going through the emotion, as we're being confronted, as we're exposing ourselves, as we're being really vulnerable in therapy work, if we can feel at the same time, and the feeling is training. The feeling is training. We're training our mind and we're sharpening our mind to actually feel. Everyone can do it. It's just training. And when you're being really vulnerable and then you're getting a few seconds of feeling, it opens. You see, it opens and moves. The energy only wants to move, as we say outwards. We said this before, and it opens and moves and it flows more freely. That's what's going to make this really powerful.
Tom, could you share a little bit about the meditative, the qigong, the energy sort of the sort of activities that
That's going to be doing with me? Yeah, I have a very unusual kind of practice at the moment. I said it before. I've been 26 years I've been training, and that's from like my first meditation, which is a herb doctor in Bangkok for 5 years, you know. And then through an Indonesian form of martial arts called Panchatam Mantra, which is based on healing the body, but it's based on all the organs and all the emotions and balancing the energy within the organs and the emotions. But we also work on expressing through sound, because the sound causes a vibration, and the vibration actually helps the emotion to move within the body, especially when you're going on there's a masculine side, yang, and there's a feminine side, yin, right, in the martial art. So breathing and using the certain sound will create, say, vibration in the lung area, right? And this is using Kung Fu, and it causes a vibration. And what the vibration does is, if there's an emotion there of grief, of sadness, that's just stuck, it's just stuck there. What it does is it shakes it a little bit. Vibration will shake it. And when you're really present within that shaking, it starts to move. And the same with the kidney, the same with the liver. And so we work throughout the body. So the way my practice is and the way I teach, I don't really have a plan. I ask everyone, how are they doing? What are you feeling now today? How was your week? How are you feeling now? How are you feeling now? Go through. Some are going through sadness, some through anger, you know, some through grief, some through worry. And the class evolves from there. So I always start off with Qigong. We're loosening the body, we're opening the body, we're opening up the whole energetic part of the body so you're feeling good in your body. Relax your central nervous system. Become grounded. Bring the attention from here down to 2 inches below your belly button, your lower dantian, or your heart. We get the energy source down there. We connect into the earth. And then we can connect up more into the cosmic energy, and we pull the two of them together into power. So we're not just working with our own energy or chi or prana within our own body. We're taking the energy from the earth. We're taking the energy from the cosmos. And anyone can do it. It's very simple principles of focusing. You come from the heart. You're sending love and gratitude up. You're sending love and gratitude down. And that's like a glue, and it pulls it in. That's all you do. And you're aware, and you're feeling, and you become very powerful within your own body. So I would do this for the first half an hour, 45 minutes of my class. Then the class can change. We can go into way more breath work, way more emotional release work in the class. And it could go on for about, say, an hour and a half. But it brings us into a state of balance at the end. And I call it emptiness and fullness at the same time. This is the Taoist path. It's the path of no resistance. It's where the voices in the head calm down. Hardly hear them. Everything tunes right down into a silence. And when that happens, we're protected from outside influences more, and we can connect more with our own heart, with our own lower body, with our own intuition. Feel into the emotions. We know what is ours. And then we're softer with that. We're sending love into the organs. We invoke love, we invoke love, we invoke love in the energetic heart. And then we send it into the organs in sequence. And it balances it out. And at the end of the day, Nigel, it took me a long time to learn this one, right? Because I was a bit of in my life, you know, I would push things hard. That less is more. Less is more. There's no need for us to be pushing hard. Even when we want to improve our mental state, our emotional state, we don't have to go hard at it. We go at it gently. We go at it softly. And that's really the whole approach. that I take. We increase the quality of the energy. It's not about more energy, it's about creating the quality of the balance of the energy. And we're here. We're really just present here. We're in the body. And we're soft and we're gentle. And we can get just as much done, if not more done. Coming from that state, with our central nervous system relaxed, our spine relaxed, the synovial fluid working in the body, the muscle body relaxed. And then you can bring this into your life at any moment. You're on your office desk, 5 minutes. That's all it takes. You learn, we'll be working through certain practices. You can bring them back to your office 5 minutes a day. Do 10 minutes in the morning. Do 5 minutes when you're in bed at night. That's all you need to do. Less is more. You don't need to do hours and hours and hours. You begin to become really angry with yourself and you're beating yourself up. You learn to smile at that anger. Straight away, we stop fighting the anger. We stop multiplying the anger. We can see the anger. We're smiling at it, right? We're smiling at the anger. And we change our behavior pattern at the subconscious level, right? And we stop being tight inside and we actually relax inside. So we're changing. And then we can flow more with the feeling of anger, that primary emotion that has been evoked. And it's about how we face it. We all have to face it. We all have to face these emotions. If we're going through hell suffering in this life right now, it's actually perfect. That's the way we're designed. We're meant to be going through. Life is designed that we actually go through this. So it's how do we do it? And I think we start off by being aware, by really gentle and kind to ourselves, but not just a mental thought. It needs to be physical, energetic, from the heart, feeling that energy, that love, that warmth come through the body, because then it's subconscious.
That's the key, man. I love the way you bring in the word love there. And so Dermot's sharing about his his. It's hard to call it just qigong, but it's many things, and it's. I see it as more like coming into the body and opening your heart and allowing that to be the canoe that you sail around in your body, and that's what when I see Dermot working with people, it's really helping them all get into the heart canoe within themselves, and how that's the healing as you meet other places that are hurting and suffering. But what I'm doing on the program, which is the therapeutics in relation to group therapy, and I've been working as a group therapist now for over 16 years. We run ongoing groups here in Bali and online, and it's really for me, it's a place where I'm a one-to-one therapist as well. But this really feels like to me is my passion to be able to be in these sort of gatherings that my forefathers, my ancestors used to sit in, and they used to, when they were hunter gathering, and they would come back into the circle at night time and tell their stories and share their troubles in a way. So I love to be able to. That's the path in my life that I've carved out that I really enjoy. And in this program, we have lots of different sort of group work that we'll be doing over the space of the 7 days. And you talked about, you mentioned there, Dermot, anger, and I suppose let me come back to the anger in a minute. And I want to say, who is this program for? Who is this program? Who is this program for? And I have to say, somebody asked me this question today, and well, first of all, I said it's for courageous. It's not for everyone. This is not for everyone. It's really for courageous people, or people who are willing to start a process to move away from the dull safety of an unfulfilled life, to dare to move towards the uncertainty of something new, the excitement of something new. So what does that encompass? So that would be people who are suffering from, sort of any sort of, that they're noticing like a depression or anxiety or tension or relational struggles. Even people who are constantly having chronic illnesses in their life. Another one, which a lot of you may not know, but when I explain it, you might know very deeply, which is, you talked about anger, Dermot, and I wanted to come back to that, is what I would also call a derivative of that is free-floating hostility. Who do you know in your life who's always agitated, irritated, angry, or impatient? How often are you in that spectrum, because that's you getting your time urgent in some way. You're rushing. You're trying to, you're chasing the drug of choice, which is recognition and approval, and you're avoiding intimacy.
Mm.
So anybody you know, if I will say that again, is agitation, irritation, anger, or impatience. This is this constant free floating. The nervous system is jacked up, and you're racing around trying to get the drug of choice, which is recognition and approval and validation, for closing, because that's a false belief that that's what makes you feel secure. So this group, this dynamic, this wonderful week is really for people who want to really challenge their beliefs around what security is all about, because that type of security creates more suffering. And maybe the people who have this inbuilt in them, because I definitely was one of those people, and I still have to keep it in check. I believe that what made it a secure life was a life where I never had failure. I believed that what would make me feel secure was being more, always striving to be more, always striving to be better, always wanting to be more than, always wanting to rescue, always wanting to be a superhero. But let me tell you, that just created more and more suffering in my life. And now I've learned that what's part of a successful life is the feelings, the welcoming the feelings of insecurity, helplessness, loneliness, sadness, grief, pain, loss. And when you allow that to be met with another person with empathy and affection, then you dissolve that hostility. You dissolve that need to be recognized, approved, validated, because something much more nourishing is taking place. There's this wonderful thing called connection that starts to transform that type of behavior. And that is exactly what this program is set up to help people get educated about that, and for them to have new lived experience that they can take back to their families, back to their businesses. How many people were ever worked in a job where the people were hostile in that way, where they're impatient, angry, agitated? What would it be like if you could change that, not just in yourself, but in the people who matter around you? Imagine living in a working environment where that was starting to be changed. I would be much more productive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so this is what I shared to the man today who had a lot of free floating hostility. He says, I've never heard anyone explain it like that before. And this is so present in our societies and in our families, but nobody's talking about it. It becomes the norm, but it creates so much suffering. So for the courageous people who are willing to move out of the dull safety, putting up with the same old familiar things, who dared to step into the unknown and learn and develop and have new lived experiences that shape them, open their hearts, open their minds, help them move towards other people in new ways, help them move stagnant energy that could improve an illness or help to produce more aliveness.
It'll help the quality of your life, basically. Qigong will help the quality of your life. That's what it'll do. It's a real practical tool that you see people in their 70s and 80s and they're doing it, and you just have a way better. You can go off walking, you can go up mountains, you're strong. You're really strong. I know a man here, he's almost 80 now doing Qigong, and he injured himself, fell down the stairs, broke 6 ribs, the whole lot. He was in the hospital bed and he healed himself with his mind, and he was up and about in no length of time. And it's the power of the mind and directing the energy. And it just, like, we all want to be, as we're getting older, we all want to have better quality of life, to be able to go out and play the golf and do this and do that and play with grandchildren and play with the children, right?
Yeah.
And like I was, I'll share this with the people here, Nigel, and you know this story. Like, I got extraordinarily sick. I burnt myself out so bad. It took me 5 years to recover. Like, that's what we're talking, right? I was running a couple of businesses, had a new child, the whole lot, and the whole thing went boom. And it was a lifetime of stress. And even though I was working on myself a lot, it was a lifetime of being in denial of fear. Deep primordial fear that could have happened before I was born, or when I was born, or something like that. I was in denial of that. And I was working and not sleeping for a couple of years. And I burnt myself out so bad, I busted my whole nervous system up. My whole central nervous system, my kidneys, my adrenals. I couldn't walk for 6 months. I couldn't go into restaurants for a couple of years with denials, had sensory processing disorder. I was working with some of the best therapists, and they said, you have to live with this. You're born with it. You can't heal yourself. And I said to myself, nonsense. And there are people that spend a lot of money to, right? And I said, nonsense. I said, I know I can heal myself. I know from my history. I was lucky I had a history of practice, good practice. And then I got deep into the martial arts again. And I went deeper into the martial arts, into Qigong. And then I knew the root cause was the emotional cause to the sensory processing disorder. It wasn't just relaxing the central nervous system, relaxing the muscle body. That really helps. But the root was the emotional. And when I got into that emotion, I went for it. I said, I'm going in, I'm going to go and deal with this. Like, I put on now about 4 or 5 kilos of weight since I've healed myself, right? I was extraordinarily sick, right, for years. And I healed myself through the Qigong, because I had the history of it, I knew it could heal me. And through going deep into the emotional body and taking the full responsibility for every single emotion that comes up in my life, taking full responsibility for every situation that happens in my life. It's my law of attraction. I created this. Something to shit without, I created this. I created this. Little laugh like, I created this. Look at it. My law of attraction. Look at it. Jesus, I created this. Stop fighting it. Okay? It took me 2 years to deal with my anger and rage. 2 years. I was smashing an axe through the shed out there. It was when the thing would kick off with the rage. 2 years of repressed anger because I was dyslexic in school and had horrible problems there. Never dealt with it properly, right? And it's only when we make a decision, okay, I'm going to deal with this. I'm going to take full responsibility of this, of my life. Okay? Can't be blaming anybody else now, right?
Acceptance, yeah.
Acceptance and taking the responsibility. Okay, this is my issue. It's my fault. I can't blame anyone. I need to deal with this. But I did it and I worked, and I was lucky to have all the tools, and I worked reasonably fast. And I'm 90% better, not 100%, but 90% is amazing compared to not being able to function at all, basically, yeah. And I couldn't use mobile phones, I couldn't use computers because I was so sensitive, couldn't use anything. And I healed myself, my central nervous system. So anyone can do this. So if you had a savage burnout, and I mean burnouts are bad, because burnouts aren't exhaustion. Exhaustion you'll recover in 2 to 3 months. Burnouts 3 to 6 years. 3 to 6 years. You get a burnout, you're busted up. But I want to tell you now, you can absolutely 100% heal yourself from that. I've done it. And my mission in life now is to help people. Help people that have panic attacks, suffer panic attacks. I was having panic attacks every morning for 6 months with a paper bag over my mouth, hyperventilating with contractions in my chest so strong I thought I was going to have a heart attack. Got tested in the hospital. They said I was good, so I go, okay, I'm good. It was severe, the panic attacks, right? You can deal with it. You can work it. You can work yourself through it. This was a part of my growth. There's exercises you can do. There's breathing exercises you can do into your stomach, into your chest, and you let go. You let go with no control. And if a panic attack is coming on and you're in an airport, you're somewhere, you just do this breathing. 5 minutes, the pressure goes from inside you. Tears might come in your eyes. You do this. But the pressure is relieved from inside, and you stop that panic from multiplying inside of yourself. And you feel inside and you go with it. Breathing is such a powerful tool. And we'll be doing this on the program. But anyone that comes on the program, it's a very exclusive program. It's a very individual program. We're going to be talking to each person in detail before they come on the program. We need to know where they're at now. And we'll be designing this program slightly differently for everyone within the program. And from my side, I'm going to be working with people individually with exercises depending on what they need now in their life, which will change in a few months down the line. It's a process. And it's not easy working through this, but you can do it. And if you're ready for the work, it doesn't have to be hard work, it can be soft work, but the work, the consistency, and you do it. If you're in a really bad state, I can guarantee you, within a year to 2 years, you could be in a completely different state. I've done it. I see loads of people going through it, but that it's not going to be a fix in 7 days. But it's a big step to going through all those emotions and process those emotions, and really it can be a huge boost, and it gets you going on your path, and then you keep at it slowly, and you can make a permanent change in your life.
So
I hope I didn't go off the road there, Nigel, with that, but
perfect, Dermot. I love that. And yeah, it's a springboard for starting your life afresh, starting the process.
Yeah,
getting to know who you are, growing and cultivating this awareness as you call yourself into question, as you learn to then take what you learn in the group through the week's experience on the retreat into your everyday lives. That's what's really important. And Dermot, could you share with the viewers a little bit, what's the space like, what's the place like, and that if you were to attend this program, what sort of camping experience is this going to be like?
I tell you, it's more than glamping anyway, I'll tell you that. No, it's fantastic. It's amazing, right? It's a historic building. It's over 200 years old in the Algarve. So it's a little bit more when you fly into, I live down in the Algarve, so you'll be flying into Faro Airport, which is in the south of Portugal, halfway between the west coast and Spain, which would be on the east coast. We're only 20 minutes from there, small fishing town in Portugal. And it's actually, the building is built, it's a historic building built in the center of this town. So it's like built specifically for holding high-end retreats. But it's a historic, it's built energetically. If you look at the architecture of the building and you look at the designs of the building, that this was more than just a normal building. There's actually a chapel built in the center kind of the building, a room, and that's going to be our main room for practice, our main room for meditations, our main room for emotional work that we're going to be doing in this. So it's an amazing building. The rooms are spectacular. We have a rooftop terrace where we're going to have all of our meals. We're going to be doing exercises in the morning on the rooftop. We've all the swimming pools on the rooftop. Then we come down into the chapel where we do more work in the chapel. Beautiful. They'll see it on the website. It's all on the website. You're going to go and see the building. You're going to see the rooms. You're going to see it all. It's amazing. When we found it, going, that's it. We got the building. When you saw it, you go, that's it straight away. That's where we need to do. We're meant to do it there. Yeah, beautiful building, and to do a retreat in a building that has such a good feeling to it. That's so beautiful and has such a good energy to it. Mm-hmm. That makes it all the difference. As soon as I walked into this building, I went, wow, I could feel it. I go, this is it. This is amazing. So I'm really excited about this.
I'm enjoying when you're saying about the church or the chapel, and what sort of better prayers could one person be saying when you come into the body and feel,
all sacred geometry, yeah. And it's not a Christian chapel, and it's not of any religion. It's very unusual the way this was built, but this was very specific sacred geometry that's going on within this building, yeah. So I think it was from groups that definitely have a lot of knowledge of sacred geometry at the time and the science of the esoteric world, yeah. And you can see it. So I'm excited about that. So look, this is a really high end. You're going to spoil yourself in this place, yeah.
Yeah, so the environment's luxurious, it's safe, it's warm, it's cozy, it's unique, it's in itself, it's an experience of a lifetime.
Yeah.
So you got this going on. Tell us a little bit about the food, Dermot. What sort of food are we going to be having on this sort of program? What are we going to be, other than the nourishment of each other's hearts and the processes? What sort of nourishment are we going to have? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Well, we're going to have the breakfast in the morning times. I'm still talking to the chefs at the moment, right? So we're actually going to be testing all the different types of food. So in our next call, say in about 3 or 4 weeks, I'm going to be able to tell you the exact food that we're going to be getting. But they're doing it for all the retreats, so it's really high end, and it'll be mainly vegetarian that we have on it, So we're going to have the breakfast and the lunch and the dinner. So on our next call, I'm going to tell you about the food. Yeah, haven't eaten the food yet, but I know it's from the top end chefs. They do it all the time, yeah.
Nice. nice. We do, and you do get a good appetite whenever you be moving emotions around in the body and challenging our minds. We really believe in having all layers of your being taken care of, and the food is a big source of nourishment. There's no poverty on this program.
Everything's organic. Everything's organic, Nigel. You know, that's just the way it's going to go. Like, you know, everything's organic. We won't be eating food that's too heavy. To eat food that's actually delicious, and it actually makes it really nice, and it's really healthy food, delicious food. You know, all organic, all fresh, and we don't want to be eating anything that's going to be way too heavy on our bodies either. You need to keep it quite light. But there's going to be lots of little treats. Lots of little treats lined up, you know, for people. So all that's going to be going up on the website.
Treats, and as the process goes, you know, through the week, we add in different experiences depending on where the group is. So there's we have a schedule that we stick to, but also it's very flexible based on the processes that are happening. Because we are treating individuals, but we're also treating a group dynamic, because the people who come together in this program, there's something sacred about that. They're all coming together. There's a theme that will evolve through the week. In past experiences, some of the themes were, you know, sexuality. Some of the themes were intimacy. Some of the themes were dealing with anxiety. Other themes dealing with childhood traumas. Some of them dealing with overbearing fathers or distant mothers or engulfing mothers. There's a theme that no one can really ascertain at the beginning, but then depending on the theme, we'll change the sort of layout to really support more work if it's needed, to be able to support the process.
It takes its own flow, and you really see how people are in the moment. And I find with my own students, my own clients, that sometimes people have to back off a little bit. They need space. You can't go, you know, you need to be gentle with yourself at times. You know, sometimes you need to stop for a while, you know, and you need to process nice and gently and quietly, and then you go back in for more work, you know. So everyone's going to be individual, and that's what we'll be doing. We'll be guiding people through that. But as well, I'd say to people, what's really important and what I would teach my students and my clients, the most important thing is coming in touch with your own intuition, coming in touch with your own inner teacher, with your own inner true voice, right? Your own inner guide in life. And when we begin to trust that and know that, then you have that with you for all your life, for every moment in life, and that's going to guide you through life. And that's the way I guide people. I guide them to actually go back into their own intuition, because then they're empowered. You don't need to be listening to other people all the time. You don't need to go out for advice all the time. You can begin to trust that first second within yourself before the voices come. First second, tell me that way. Trust it. Our intuition is so subtle. It's not the noisy voice, it's the subtleness. We get back into touch with that, and you have that for all of your life. You have it now anyway, but we need to just go in and listen to that again. And that will guide us and navigate us all the way through our lives. And that's the empowerment, Nigel. That's the empowerment where you can go and you do this thing called life, you know, by yourself. And you navigate through life by yourself. So we'll be helping people connect back into that. And we do that through the silence.
Yeah, and I just want to, I love that, Dermot. And I love the fact that we can grow this resource where we can be able to listen deeply to ourselves and remember who we are through that process. And then also get deeply resourced where if we have tendencies to isolate, tendencies to be more compliant, more caretaking, that we challenge those particular dynamics to move towards people in new ways through the process. And I think it's this. So I'm sitting here thinking, as we're coming to the end, Dermot, what do people leave with? What is it that they can take home? What from
I'm going to tell you what they leave with, Nigel. Right? I'll tell you what people leave with, right? I'll tell you what people leave with. It's very simple. Right? It's very simple. Right? They're not going to leave with a whole lot of ideas anyway, right? And they're not going to leave with a pile of techniques either, right? They're not going to leave with that. There's enough things to be learned in life, right? We're going to leave with a few experiences, right? That we'll be going through, right? But those experiences, once you go, there's no easy way here. It's difficult, right? But when you go in and you go through that difficulty and you really going through it. You're processing and processing and processing. Within the whole impermanence of our mind and our phenomena, right? That is one permanent change that will happen. You walk out of there, whether you like it or not, you've changed. It's the same if you go into a retreat for 10 days or 7 days or 20 days of a silent retreat. And it's damn hard. It's damn hard when you're in there, right? And you're belting your head off a wall, right? But you're processing and you're going through the pain and the suffering, and it's actually changing. It's changing when we're in there. The environment is built that the habits of the people in there are going to be confronted. And when the habits are confronted, the resistance happens. And when we surrender to the resistance, the change happens. So it's an accelerated environment for change. And by God, you'll see it after 7 days, because it'll happen on the subconscious, biological, physical level, as well as the cognitive level. It's not an idea. So you go out and you watch what will happen. What happens? And this is what happens over and over and over again, is that you find that you're in your workplace and people will be always fighting with you. Or there'll be always problems. Yeah? And after you go through a lot of emotional processing, right? Intense emotional processing, you find those situations just aren't there anymore. Just things have changed because your law of attraction has changed. You're not pulling it in. It just doesn't have to teach you that in the same situation. You'll find the situations aren't coming up as intensely to teach you because you've already gone through it. So you find that your life changes because your emotional state has changed. If your emotional state changes, your cognitive state has changed. So your life changes. But it's not easy. It's not easy. You have to get head fucking first in. Excuse the language, right? And I'm going for this. My soul's going for this. I'm going in for this. I'm going to give it all, right? And I'm feeling the anxiety in me. And I'm feeling the fear and I'm feeling the anxiety. Well, go for it. If you're feeling the anxiety, you're feeling the fear. That's it. That's the one. Your soul is saying go. Your soul is saying go. The higher part of you is saying is go, go. You go in and you work through that, and it breaks off very quick, the fear and anxiety, and then you start going into the deeper process. So it's up to you. It's up to you. And if you want to do this or do something else, whatever you do it. Get into the emotional state. Get into it and confront it and surrender into it. Softly, but go for it with the intention, the clear intention. Yeah. So that's what happens from my own experience over all the years. Your life changes.
There's a big shift. There's a real, for those who are really wanting to come on the program to move towards something new in their life. Maybe they've had all the physical, material things that they thought would bring them happiness. Maybe you've got your 3 cars and your 2 houses and all the toys, and you're still not happy.
Yeah.
So it's really about people who are at a stage in their life where they really want to look at the lack of feeling fulfilled, or feeling that they're habitually in the same struggle again and again and again. They can't get off the merry-go-round of suffering, or maybe they just keep, feeling depressed, or maybe you're stuck in that job that you don't believe you have what it takes to move out of it, or that relationship, or you haven't slept for the last 6 months and you're wondering, after you've tried every natural and medical product, why you're still not sleeping. So it would be people like this who would be courageous enough to want to come out of the dull safety of giving up on and staying safe in that sort of familiarization to something new, to let go of what's familiar. And for those people, what you would be leaving with would be a renewed sense of connection with yourself, a new way of possibly challenging and calling your thoughts into question, to be able to change certain behaviors, to be able to deepen into our feelings, to be able to do that for ourselves, and to be able to move towards other people in new ways, new nourishing ways, where life can have a different rhythm. Instead of being busied, continually busied, you can, as Dermot says, slow it down to that pace of connection, where the heart starts to matter, where you can sit and see the beauty around you instead of running right past it, to see the ordinary life that's worth living. You know, that where the ordinary, instead of needing new accoutrements and things, but where there's an invitation to see what's right here in the moment.
Like last thing, Nigel, as I say, because it's in my mind, it's important for people just to think, share this. It happened to me quite recently, you know, where I had this thing. I was meditating at 2 o'clock in the morning. I kept waking up, and I went down for months, and I was meditating at 2 in the morning. Yeah, so I'd sit in my seat and then go back to bed. Yeah, and I realized, I saw my thoughts for a few seconds. I realized I knew nothing, and the relief that came over me. I got all this thought process. It's not really very real, you know. It's always changing. And there's such an amazing freedom and power in humility. When we actually begin to actually really see that we don't actually really know that much. You know, we don't need to be right. We don't have to be right. My ideas don't have to be right. People don't need to. There's such a freedom and relief in that. Not having to be right, not having to know all the time. We don't have that. That's a school thing. We don't have to be right, and we don't have to know. To say I don't know and I'm not right is one of the most freeing things that will actually bring around a humility, bring around peace, bring around love, bring about joy, because we begin to let go.
Absolutely. That's the beautiful. That's it, Dermot. You nailed it there, my man. It's like, you know, we're always being pulled back to the dull safety of the familiar knowing, the familiar patterns, the familiar personality traits, and to dare to be to step to the other side of that, to be excited, to be in the unknown. And you know, so many of my teachers over the years have always echoed this very same thing that you said there, Dermot, that the real healing happens when we don't know, when we can allow ourselves to be that undefended. And there's an invitation for everybody on the program who journeys with us for the 7 days to really enter into that field of not knowing as a collective, as a small group, a small, responsive, reliable, safe group of other ordinary men and women, to be able to go into the unknown and unknowing together is quite something. And then to come out impacted, sort of changed, to be able to do that more in our life instead of this constant busyness and anxiety, you know, of being able to try to always have to know. So although being in the unknown initially can feel a little bit anxious and uncomfortable, as most people would have experienced that through the pandemic, but that just showed us as a collective how we all have learned to be very much needing to be in control all the time. And there's so much more nourishment on the other side of that, in the unknown. And as you rightly named there, Dermot, in the not knowing.
Yeah. It's a surrendering of our own ego. There's nothing wrong with the ego. The ego is good. It's very functional. There's nothing wrong with it. But it helps it drop a bit, you know, saying, I don't really know much, you know. And being genuine and sincere, I don't really know much, you know. That's a surrendering of that a little bit, and it's just very helpful in life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, just as we're winding up here, if you're feeling that anything in this short podcast today resonates, reach out. If something that me and Dermot have said that kind of got your ears perked up, reach out. If you're struggling with any of the free-floating hostility of being agitated, irritated, impatient, or angry, reach out if you feel like you'd like to shift that. If you're stuck in any way in your life, reach out. If you feel that you're ready and you realize that you need more help than you can give yourself, reach out. If you have a friend or a family member who's struggling, who you think would like to go through a reset like this, to have these new lived experiences that can shape them onto a better course of living, really living in life, not hiding away from it, we'll hand them over our contact details. You can contact me here on Wellbeings, on Nigel McFarland. We are going to post in the chat here the link to the website, and you can take a look at that as well. So really, I really want to, and if you're not getting a feeling from this, then that's something else will come. But really, this is not something you force. You get an initial feeling, then reach out and we can have a chat with you. Me and Dermot are we've made ourselves very available to talk to anybody who'd be open to go on this journey, or this pilgrimage, or this sort of jumping off the edge of this cliff into the unknown with us. Is there anything else, Dermot, you'd like to say as we're winding down here? What feels important?
We mentioned, but it's kept in a very small group. Keeping in around, say, 10 people on the course, on the whole program. That's it, and it's going to help us work with people at a way more individual level. To keep it small and keep it really tidy, for that. So that'll keep it way more, I suppose, focused and intentional.
Yeah. Right. Well, come here, for anybody tuning in either live or in the replay, thank you for taking the time out. Thank you for listening to us. If you got any benefit from it, please hit a little like or a share or put in a little comment. And again, if you would like to find out any more information, please reach out to the Wellbeings sort of Facebook page or Instagram page, and we'll follow up with you as soon as we can. But the main thing I just want to say is that I have discovered just one thing in my life, and it's like we need people. And as we evolve as a species in the way that we're evolving, we need more people in small groups, like smaller communities where we can thrive in, where we can be in these little pods of where it's responsive, where it's reliable, where we can dare to be vulnerable, and that brings us alive. And I really believe that in this lifetime, it's all about how can we live it fully, not just sit on the sidelines. And this is what this program's all about: how to get you off the sidelines and really entering into life in a real, meaningful way that touches you deeply and touches the people that you love. And it's a real privilege to be here in this vocation. Sorry, Dermot, go ahead.
Popped in my mind, I'll just say very quickly about that, Nigel. The deadness in life that we feel, and so many of us feel this deadness in life, is because we're not actually following our mission in life, our purpose in life. We all have individual, deeper purpose in life. I strongly believe this, right? Whatever that's meant to be. And the reason that we're not doing this can be because of fear, because of doubt, because of lack of self-belief, self-esteem, self-worth. This drains our energy. Us not going for what we're meant to be doing in our life and taking the direct action takes all of our energy, because we're processing this 98% of the time in our minds, and we take one step. Nothing. So it's to recognize that. And when we take that jump into that unknown, through the fear, the anxiety, all this illusionary stuff that's actually quite real within our body, but we've got to go through that and actually start doing what we're meant to be doing in our lives. Then it all comes from there. All the aliveness comes from there. When we're scared, when we do something dangerous, right? A bit dangerous, right, at times, right? A bit risky, right? We become alive. Okay? And it's not doing causes the deadness, and not doing causes, you can even say, sicknesses on some level. The not doing, not going, and that's because of mental and emotional blockages in our lives that are stopping us from actually doing that. And sometimes we just need to go, okay, well, that's what I need to do. I need to remember that's what I need to do, and I just need to do the thing. And be 40% ready for it. Be 40% ready. Don't be doing 90% ready. Get 40% ready for it, right? And just go for it. Just bloody well go for it. And make tons of mistakes. And it doesn't matter because there's no mistakes, right? And you're doing it, and the energy is going to come from doing it. The energy is going to come from doing it. The joy will come from doing it. The enthusiasm, the aliveness, and you're alive. And there's no being right or wrong or not perfect or nonsense, right? Nonsense. And we'll help people on the Reset Retreat to find what that thing is. If there's a deadness, if there's a blockage in your life, to identify that in the therapy groups, to identify it. And they give the support. So you go out and you just go, okay, I'm doing this. I'm going to do this thing. It doesn't matter what the hell happens, and go. And you go and you take the action. And from the action, you're going to start hitting every emotional blockage. Boom, 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 boom. Breaking through them. And you broke through that illusion. And you become alive. You become bloody alive. Right? This life's real short. This life's real short. Even if you get to live your 80 or 90 years, it's short. Let's not waste it. Okay? That's what I have to say.
As I was going to say earlier, me and Dermot are on a vocation. If you haven't heard, we're not. This is because our hearts are aligned, and we really feel a great sense of privilege to be walking along people on this sort of journey. And you can feel the aliveness from Dermot there as he was sharing that, and it's really true. Like we're here because we love the work. We're here because we don't think there's anything better that we could be doing in the servitude of others, is to really create spaces like this that are responsive and reliable, that challenge people's histories, that have new futures. Feels really, really privileged to be able to be doing that. And I just want to end with an invitation for those who are listening. And this came from one of the groups today. I invite you to look at your life. And maybe there's a struggle somewhere. Maybe, let me give you an example. Today there was a struggle, and the individual has a real difficulty asking for help. Real difficulty in asking for help. And of course we looked at the historical and the family background, why that was so, and the grief that was there. But the invitation for you is to look at, where do you struggle? So this woman's going to go out and she's going to ask 15 people for help this week before we see her again. Where is that place where you avoid? Where is there a place where you're superhuman? Where is there a place where we could invite in, as Dermot put in, that humility, that humbleness? Where can we move towards others? Where are we stuck in the movement towards that exchange? Where are we so heavily resourced? Really inviting you to think, what could I try to do different? And me and Dermot are going to come on here every 2 weeks, and we're going to share, and at the end of each one of our podcasts, we're going to invite some little exercises for you to do in between. So the invitation I would like to invite for those listening today is to look at where do you struggle in relationship, and to dare to move towards and ask for. Maybe you don't have struggle with, maybe you don't have any needs. Maybe you've learned not to need from anyone. Maybe you've learned not to show any emotions. Maybe you've learned to isolate a lot. Maybe you've learned to run around rescuing everybody else. Maybe you've learned, and that's what it means. That's what love is, to be needed, maybe. And there's a real invitation here to try to do some small movement towards something new. And that may be, in this case, what the woman today was, to ask for help, to let others know how you're feeling inside. So there's a real invitation here for you to share something, or to dare to have a new behavior, or to call yourself into question. Some small movement, and let's see what happens. And please send us some how that goes for you. Send it here, either to the Instagram or to the Facebook feeds, or message me privately. But for now, Dermot, this feels good enough for today.
Thank you, Nigel, and thank you to everyone for listening.
And again, thank you. And we're back here on Thursday night with a very amazing guest, a heart-centered divorce lawyer. So this is going to be beautiful and really, really interesting. So tune in, same time. But for everyone today who is tuning in live, and for those who tune in later, thank you. And again, if you're touched, reach out. Thank you, and thank you, Dermot, for taking the time, brother.
Thank you, Nigel, and I'll see you soon.
Yeah.